What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Trill Bro Dude, and if you are watching this episode, you will see that I have the Ben Simmons avatar right now, not doing well, currently suffering from a back injury that is real and not made up, and I'm in real pain. So I will not be doing it with my image on today because I'm currently laying down because slop don't stop, baby.
So just to quick apologize to everyone. So everyone knows that I joined the podcast to take it over in a hostile takeover, make it into a mostly Celtics pod.
Yes.
My assassination attempt on Trill did fail. I tried to make the gun that Shinzo Abe was caught lacking with. I was not able to, as you see, make Trill depart from this mortal plane. I did injure him. So I guess I'll just have to try again at another time.
That's right. Yeah. Best of first off, better luck next time, Sam. Better luck next time, Canadian wildfires. You cannot fucking take me out, dude.
It's impossible to kill.
Luckily, I've been stuck inside for the 2 days that are literally the 2 days you're not supposed to go outside. So I kind of lucked out in that regard. You know, the planet and probably everyone who has to go outside. They might be fucked, but we'll be good. We'll be chilling here in the air conditioning where only a little bit of air is getting in the house, and my lungs should be good for the long term. But a nice pivot off of that is to talk about our sponsors from Underdog Fantasy. If you're feeling some existential dread and you want to play some daily fantasy and blow your money like I did on the last episode.
They probably don't want us to reveal it now, but Underdog will be doing a higher lower on air quality here coming up in the coming days. So, if you were, for example, you saw how bad it was out in New York yesterday and you were like, okay, well, it's going to go lower.
It's going to go over 300.
It's not going to go over
hazardous.
300.
Come on.
That was a bad beat. Beat for you yesterday. So, But, they haven't ruled that out yet, so we will be talking about some of their other products for today, daily fantasy-wise, pick'ems. Again, Trill is dead. This is an AI Trill. I actually did succeed in killing him. I can't quite get the deep fake filter to work, but I also don't know how to run these. So we're just going to do it off the dome here.
We're doing it off the dome, and well, I have I just have an update on my last episode. I got picks wrong again on there, which incredible. So we have been making Sam pick them recently because Sam and Parm are much better at them than me, and even Will when he came on. But I went on there and I guessed higher on Nikola Jokic's points, easy win. He crushed that. He had a 30-20-10 game, first time that's ever happened in the finals. He cleared it by a mile. And fucking Jimmy Butler, who has sucked ass for like 2 weeks now, finally got higher on his points in the last game. He barely scraped over. It was like 26.5, I believe. And he ended up with 28. So Jimmy fucked up my ticket in the last one. But if you go on there today, you can still do higher, lower on Underdog today for the NBA Finals, for the remaining games. Their picks are up on there. They'll be up a day or two in advance of the finals. Pretty much right when the game ends, you could bet, you could place your picks for the next game. And also, in addition to that, they are adding higher lowers for NFL yards and touchdowns for quarterbacks, wide receivers, all that stuff. So that's up on Underdog right now as well. So if you've not already, please check that out. Use the promo code SLOP to support the program. $100 deposit match. Sign up today if you have not already. Now, Sam, I haven't told you about this.
Yeah.
I told you not to look at Twitter.
Yeah.
But we do have some minor slop from Chris Haynes. We obviously got the Chris Paul slop, which we're going to talk about in a second. But we got some minor slop from Chris Haynes on Dan Patrick's show. And Dan Patrick basically said on the show, they're talking, the Damian Lillard stuff keeps popping up over and over and over again. And as you know, I've said time and time again, I'm not believing the Dame stuff until it comes from Dame or from Chris Haynes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yesterday Dame does an interview where he basically reiterates what he said over and over about wanting to stay in Portland. But he did say during that interview he would be open to Miami or Brooklyn if he were to get traded eventually. Like that was what he was basically saying. Oh, of course. Yeah, obviously I would love that. I'm friends with Bam Adebayo, Mikal Bridges. Today on Chris Haynes' appearance on Dan Patrick, he basically said if the Blazers can't find a trade for the third pick, and they keep the pick, and they draft anyone that's on the board, including Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson with the third pick, that there will probably be discussions that will lead to a Damian Lillard trade this offseason. So with the way that the market is shaping up right now, we're pretty certain, there hasn't been any firm reporting, but we're pretty certain Boston's going to keep Jaylen Brown. It doesn't sound like the Nets have put Mikal Bridges on the table, but as I said yesterday, if you're the Nets and you want Damian Lillard, you're not going to trade him Mikal Bridges now because you want Damian Lillard. So today in the interview, Chris Haynes basically also said, in addition to that the two teams that would be targeted would be Brooklyn and Miami, and then the third team would maybe be Philadelphia. And the reason why he said the Sixers probably aren't involved is because they don't have the picks that the Nets and the Heat can offer, and they probably wouldn't be considered in the same way. So we might really get these next 2.5 weeks until the NBA draft. I believe it might even be is it 2 weeks from today?
Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks from today. Is it 23rd, 22nd, something like that? 21st?
Yes, 22nd, I believe. Yeah. So 2 weeks from today, we will have. Hold on, let me confirm that. I'm going to make sure that that's true, and it's not the 29th, but I'm pretty certain. Yeah, no, it's the 22nd. So 2 weeks from today, we will have an answer whether Damian Lillard is going to be a Portland Trailblazer next year or not. If they draft Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller and there's no rumors about any trades, that's it. Like, he's probably going to be gone.
And I mean, look, if I'm Mike Schmitz, I'm like throwing my body on the board saying we can get fucking Scoot Henderson, kiss this old man goodbye. Bye-bye. I don't know. I if I were a Blazers fan, I know they have got a lot of love for Dame, but like you gotta just rip the Band-Aid off at that point. If the options are trade him for who you're trading the third pick for, like.
I mean, honestly, I think the only option would be Mikal Bridges, unless Pascal Siakam's more available than we had. It would be Pascal Siakam or Mikal Bridges.
If Scoot's really on the board, that's like franchise destroying to like not take that pick if you've got three. Like I don't know. I'm a big Scoot. I'm in on Scoot. And way more so than Brandon Miller. And I don't know. I just think that just makes so much sense for everybody. Because Miami will give you a ton of shit. This is the exact kind of trade Miami saved stuff for. They'll give you Kyle Lowry's corpse and him, and then away you go. Like, that's that. And it's a pretty easy trade to pull off.
The thing is, for me, if I'm Portland and I'm weighing packages, and I'm saying, okay, we can either get Miami's picks, which, as I've stated before, are literally never good, because Miami is always good. Like, I think the lowest pick that they've had, as we discussed recently, unless you want to go all the way back to Justice Winslow, was like the Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo picks, which were both the 14th pick in the draft, which is like not great. But I'm saying, if I want picks, if my goal is to get picks, the Brooklyn package is way more enticing to me than the Miami one, because Brooklyn can offer future Mavs picks. They can offer future Suns picks, which both of those teams have potential in 5 years from now to be terrible. Totally possible that those teams are just kind of like they're going all the way in right now. And if things don't go well, their 2-star players could end up asking out within a few years.
Yeah, I mean, like, imagine. I don't think it's out of the question for those teams to next year be like 42 and 37. You know, those picks could be really good right away. Like, could you imagine if the Miami Heat were 42 and 37?
And they still have the 18th pick in the draft right now. I think it is, which is still like you're trading.
They're gonna fuck that pick up, but then like with the 56th pick or an undrafted guy, they'll get a rotation player.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely sure.
I actually don't care when they get a high, like, because they're actually not very good at it besides Bam. But the other stuff, like Tyler Hero has to be in the package.
That's what I was going to say. Get off it. But that's what I'm saying is like, one, do you even view that Tyler Hero contract as like a positive? Like,
no,
if anything, I think that could become like a neutral contract at best. But like, I would be pretty surprised if we're looking at the Tyler Hero contract in 3 years and being like, oh, this is a totally fine contract.
The fan spo, by the way, I just did the trade, and the estimated wins added is on a Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero for Dame Lillard package is +1 for the Blazers. The Blazers get better, apparently.
Well, there you go. Yeah, well, then they have easy. Then it's done. There's your deal. Pat Riley's sending that over to.
If I were the problem is, I don't know if I would put my asset dick on the table the same way if I were the Nets, the way I would if I were Miami. You know,
sure.
Like if Miami loses in 5 and it's like, fuck, we had literally everything break exactly right for us and we still didn't win the finals. Like that's fucking tough. Like,
yeah, I
got to do something. You know,
they're going to be open to. I think they would be open to these kind of trades. Absolutely. Would they be open to trading 3 first-round picks, expiring Kyle Lowry, who's like 39, and Tyler Hero, who has potential to be one of the worst contracts in the NBA in a few years? But the thing is that, as you've talked about a lot, is like, what is Damian Lillard's trade value really when he's going to make $60 million at age 37? Like, it's not like the Dame contract is going to age amazingly either, but it's worth it to maximize the next 2 to 3 years while Dame is still potentially really one of the 12, 15 best players in the NBA.
I don't think, like, look, I'm Mr. Compete, ethical, don't tank, like this is a perfect example of the difference between that, because if I'm the Nets, I just chill out. Like you're fine. You do not need to immediately go back to winning. Just fucking feel it out. See who gets desperate. See who offers you something crazy for one of your rotation guys and trade them when you get the offer. You don't have to worry about losing a lot. You don't have to worry about winning a lot. Just fucking chill. Like, and I just don't see the Damian Lillard. Like, what is that? If you add Damian Lillard, what do you take? Who are they sending back? Like,
I mean, my guess would be it would be like Claxton. It would unless they're just interested in picks, which I highly doubt is the case. I think they're going to want to get a nice young player like Nick Claxton back in order to like fit with their young core that they have. So like maybe it's like Claxton for contract purposes you could send Dinwiddie. Well, that's the thing, is that you're probably stuck with Ben Simmons unless you can find another trade for that. But I don't think they would. I don't think Portland would take back Ben Simmons. I think Portland would probably want maybe like Dinwiddie or Harris is expiring just to make the money work. And then maybe they take a flyer on Cam Thomas and they get a few firsts, like 4 firsts of those, like Phoenix, Dallas, whoever picks they have.
That's gonna be.
They have a Sixers pick too, which is also interesting.
That's gonna be a little tricky though, because sign and trades are a little hard when you're not maxing a guy. Because everybody, it's still a negotiation. Yeah, sign and trades. What did I say? I don't know.
Do you just mean trade straight up? Like,
no, because Cam Thomas is an unrestricted free agent, or Cam Johnson, or not Cam Thomas. I thought you meant Cam Johnson. That's why I got turned around.
Yeah, that is true. But we saw the Colin Sexton thing last year, where Colin Sexton was involved in the Donovan Mitchell trade just to make the money work.
I mean, I'll also say he was also at kind of a different point in his career than like Cam Johnson. Like Cam Johnson
is not a highly desirable. Yeah, I was gonna say Houston might just be like, we'll give him $20 million a year because he's a good player and he can fit on any team basically. I mean, look, maybe they want Cam Johnson and that gets a little bit more complicated, but like if you're trading Damian Lillard, you're getting back as many good young players and obviously you're not going to get Mikal Bridges because that's the reason why Dame wants to go there. But you're going to try to get as many picks and young players back as you can. And I don't know. After what I know that it's not going to be the new norm, but like after what we saw Rudy Gobert go for, and I know they're going to want to help Dame. Like I wouldn't be able to stomach getting like less than what you got for Rudy Gobert, like a lot less than what they got for Rudy Gobert in Utah. If I'm trading Damian Lillard, who's way better than Rudy Gobert and like has been like the best Blazer of the last 25 years. Like I just don't really see a way that you can kind of talk the Blazers into that. Having said that, they probably will work with Dame and get him where he wants to go. And maybe their GM has said on the record, they like doing deals where both sides feel like they came out with something that was like good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I struggle to see. I just struggle to see if I were the Nets. I mean, I
wouldn't do it either. I think it's just you're just you're gonna give up all your picks, and as Will has said time and time again, you're giving up everything you have to lock yourself into a team that can't win a championship.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you've done this before. Like, are you trying to kill your fans? Like, your fans just want a regular ass rebuild, and you were so close last time. And I get why you took that swing, getting Kevin Durant. Like they almost built a dynasty. You know, took two really weird things happening to like derail that. But I would chill the fuck out. I think they are in a great position where they are going to be selling. If you make yourself a seller, I think this is a great time to make yourself a seller in the NBA. Because there's not a lot of competition. The only other team that might be selling is the Brain Genius Raptors, who are bemusedly chuckling at how they've sort of tricked everyone in puzzle. Yeah, all the Raptors like reporting is like the front office is wearing a fedora. Like, oh, milady, I seem to have bemused and puzzled you with me asking for 17 picks for OG Anunoby. Oh, how
Masai hangs up the phone after he talks to Portland about a Pascal Siakam trade, and he's like, freaking epic bacon for the win.
Yeah, I think they don't know what's going on. I think I tricked them a little. Just doing like straight up Tim Robinson voice. I think you should leave front office is going crazy. Bobby Webster is just he's styling on everyone. He's saying, "Milady, I will." I will.
And also like it does sound like the Wizards are going to be selling now, but two of their best players are free agents. Yeah. And then the other one is Bradley Beal, who has a worse contract than anyone. So like I don't really know how that rebuild's going to go in comparison to the Nets, where the Nets have this golden opportunity to possibly get like look, I'm very high on Scoot. You know, it's not to say that he's a slam dunk. There's never any slam dunks outside of Wemby's the only slam dunk in this draft in terms of like if he stays healthy, will be a Hall of Fame level talent. But Scoot has that kind of upside. It gives you so much flexibility, and then also the salary in this trade once again is a really good player in Anthony Simons. It's not like you're getting back Yusuf Nurkic's contract. Like you're getting back a good young player that fits with the rest of your core. Like, and part of the reason why I agreed with Will is like, if I were them, like I'd kind of just like keep stacking as many good young players and picks and whatever. And then a year or two from now, like go for the younger stars. Go for if Luka or Giannis are available.
Yeah.
If you can have enough good shit to keep your team good enough and also trade for one of those guys, that gives you a larger window to me than trading for a 32-year-old Damian Lillard. Like I don't know. I just don't really get it.
Well, they're going to be able to trade expiring Ben Simmons and a conditional first for Zion Williamson, fresh off of whatever's going on with him. Like they're going to be able to do some of those like reclamation project style like things. Like
sure,
they're going to be able to like. You might be able to get Cat on the cheap, you know, stuff like that is more what I would be thinking about. Like not Damian fucking Lillard. Like,
This is why, as much shit as I've given Morey before, every trade that I'm aware of that he's ever made for a star, whether it was James Harden the first time, Chris Paul, James Harden, I don't really count the Russell Westbrook one, because from everything Tim McMahon says, it sounds like that was Harden and Tillman Fertitta who really wanted that deal to go through. So I don't really put that at the feet of Morey, but like Morey got Harden for really cheap before he was a star. He got Chris Paul while he was a star for really cheap. He got James Harden again for one of what's turned into one of the worst contracts in the NBA and 2 first-round picks, essentially. There's reason why I think with this new CBA that we're going to see, this is the last offseason where people are going to go crazy overpaying for stars. And I think that in a year or two from now, you're going to see a real dip, and you're going to have all these picks and all these young players, and you might be able to turn your team into a contender for the next 10 years instead of the next 2 or 3 years as like a fringe contender with a team built around Damian Lillard and Mikal Bridges. And like, even from Portland side, like I know Portland fans like really want to do that deal, but like I keep hearing people say in the writers that cover the team and the fans and like people who like all are like the writers who are like plugged in, like everyone keeps saying the West is wide open, and I'm like, dude, Damian Lillard's great, and like who knows, maybe the Miami Heat just made the finals, but like I don't see them beating the Suns with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I don't see them beating the Nuggets with Jokic and Murray. Like the Warriors could figure out something this offseason, and then they have Steph. Like, even as amazing as Damian Lillard is, we could be a year away from him being like the 9th best player in the Western Conference. And like, it's really tough to win when you don't have one of the 3 or 4 best guys in your conference. Like, it's just incredibly hard unless you have devil magic.
Well, and that's why I think that's why it's the Heat are like perfect. Like if you basically swap in your Tyler Hero spot for Damian Lillard, that's perfect.
Sure.
He can't play defense, but everyone else on the roster can.
This is why I need this to not happen, which is why I'm like, please, Brooklyn, please just make this fucking trade, because the other trade, I mean, to trade for Scoot and Simons with using Mikal Bridges, because I need that to happen, because otherwise we're looking at a situation where the Heat add Dame Lillard, then they have Dame Lillard, Bam, Jimmy, and then they always find these fucking guys on the fringes, and they're going to be so good.
No, I'm excited for this. This is good. I need Miami to look at them losing to Denver in 5 and be like, we're right there. We're so close. Let's give all our picks for 30-something-year-old Damian Lillard. He can be our Tyler Hero replacement, an upgrade on Tyler Hero, forgetting that the reason why they won the finals is because Tyler Hero was hurt and they just didn't have a weak link on defense. But
if they plug in Damian Lillard, it's going to make their offense good enough that like.
But Jimmy, I think it's going to fuck everything up, because what's Jimmy going to do? Just play defense? No. You can't take a theater kid out of a theater kid is going to accept laying down.
I will say it would be kind of weird in terms of fit, because your 2 stars right now aren't 3-point shooters. And like, if Dame has the ball all the time, it would be a little bit clunky, but like, I'm just imagining like Damian Lillard running dribble handoffs with Bam. And like, I'm like, it would be enough. That Spo would figure out some shit and they'd have like a top 3 offense and defense next year.
I mean, like that is a good point. I mean, could you imagine if like you had guards like getting a Bam dribble handoff and then he's just rising up and shooting above 40% from 3? That'd be crazy.
But also they can handle the ball and run a ton of pick and roll.
They can cut to the rim and make reads, like maybe lobs to Bam. We're talking about Duncan Robinson. That's who we're talking about.
So you're comparing Duncan Robinson to Damian Lillard.
The way he's been playing, yes, the way he's been playing in the playoffs, absolutely. I Duncan Robinson 100 times out of 100.
First pick of the draft or Duncan Robinson?
We're going Duncan Robinson.
Wemby pick or Duncan Robinson?
Yeah. By the way, I was thinking about this the other day when I was like seeing the Miami crowd. What do you think? Like, we know what Jimmy Butler's DMs must look like. What do you think Duncan Robinson's DMs look like?
Oh my God.
Like, is he also getting Instagram models and he's like, well, here's my LinkedIn. Like, check me out. Like, could you network me to get a Ringer podcast?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's probably a good chance that he's getting a lot of Patriots in there, just sending sending him links to some things they found they thought were interesting on 4chan.
The storm is coming. The storm is coming, Mr. Robinson. I would like to invite you to one of our great things. We are going to discuss about how the Castro brothers are still the greatest threat facing this fine country.
You live in Miami.
Yeah, come on over, sir.
You see it firsthand.
I was just thinking about like how funny it would be if like the Zion Williamson story that played out identically, but with Duncan Robinson at the center of it. Would very, very funny to me. I would very much enjoy that. I would very much enjoy that. Duncan Robinson having only fan models fighting over him would be incredible. I also want Duncan Robinson, Jimmy getting a fist fight. Jimmy punches Duncan Robinson in the face because Duncan Robinson stole Shakira from him. I'm very excited. I'm still not coming to like the fact that he styled on the Celtics with the touching the ear thing, and then he also got to do it in Denver. Miami winning the title would kill me.
Well, we're going to talk about the finals in a little bit, but
okay.
Let's before we get to that, we do have a little bit of Chris Paul slop I want to hit on.
Okay.
So we have Chris Paul yesterday. First off, I love what the Suns are doing right now, where they just leak 3 different things to Haynes, Shams, and Woj. I'm not sure if what's coming from where. I'm pretty certain Shams is the one that's getting the information directly from the Suns. I think Haynes and Woj are getting it from Chris Paul's camp, if I had to guess. Mm-hmm. Because yesterday, Chris Haynes comes out and he tweets, and he says, Chris Paul's been waived. And that basically, the Suns are going to move on from him. And then we get Shams saying, well, wait, they might trade him, or they might waive and stretch him, or they might waive him just straight up. Mm-hmm. And then Woj basically came out later and said essentially the same thing Shams said, but the way Woj talked about it, it sounded way more like coming from Chris Paul's camp, because he did say they want an answer in the next 2 or 3 weeks from the Suns, whether they're going to keep him or they're going to move on from him so that he could explore other routes in free agency. And he mentioned the Clippers and the Lakers specifically. Now, the reason why there's a differentiation between just being waived versus being waived and stretch is an important one, because if they were to waive him straight up, so they just waived him, they took that $15 million hit because he has $15 million guaranteed on his contract, which is half guaranteed. They could still technically bring back Chris Paul if he really wanted to stay in Phoenix. Let's say Chris Paul was willing to take part of the taxpayer MLE, or he was willing to take a veteran's minimum contract to come back because he's already getting paid $15 million by the Suns anyway. So maybe he's willing to do that if he really wants to stay and play with KD and Booker. And that just opens up the taxpayer MLE, which is going to be about $6 or $7 million this year. So there's that element of it. But if they waive and stretch him, that means that they'll take the contract, they'll take that remaining $15 million, and they'll stretch it over the next 3 years so that it's $5 million, $5 million, $5 million, and they will have access to the full MLE. In that case, they cannot bring back Chris Paul. They would just be trying to replace him with that $12 million that they get from the MLE, and they're basically just going in a completely different direction, trying to build out their team and their depth. And then the other situation would be trading him to a team, but I highly doubt there's a team that takes him in a trade now. I kind of think what's going to end up happening is they probably waive and stretch him, get the full MLE, and Paul ends up leaving and going to the Clippers or Lakers. Which, if I'm the Lakers, I would be jumping for joy at that. If you could get Chris Paul for super cheap and possibly not have to re-sign D'Angelo Russell and keep your numbers low enough that you'll still have you'll be able to add Chris Paul potentially at a veteran's minimum, and then also have enough money to get a guy on an exception like either the taxpayer MLE or the regular MLE, and you could just let D'Angelo Russell walk and then keep your other guys. Like that would be appealing to me if I'm the Lakers. I have a hard time seeing him going back to the Suns, but if you are the Suns, I guess my whole thing with this is like if you're trying to build out your depth and you're trying to break up that MLE and bring in like 3 or 4 rotation players for like, let's say 3 rotation players for like 4 or 5 million each, and you think you can get some guys, okay, that's interesting to me. But if you're going just on the fact that you think that you can replace Chris Paul with a player who's better than him, that doesn't make any sense. I still think Chris Paul's good enough. Like he's better than any player you can get on the taxpayer MLE, right?
He's still a serviceable starter.
Yeah.
I think. Like, I mean, the money's expensive, but like, what are you? Unless the plan is to bring him back, like you said.
Yeah.
The waiving and stretching doesn't make sense to me. What, you think D'Angelo Russell's going to be better on a mid-level exception?
Sure.
Like, no, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I would want to know what the plan is, and like who they're targeting, because it seems like I feel like you do this if you have a plan for DeAndre Ayton, because he's obviously.
It sounds like he's going to get traded too.
And that's the thing is, it's like, have you back channeled with somebody and you already like have like a draft deal in place, like conditional on like somebody sliding or something like that? Like, are the Pacers going to give up their 2 shittier picks or something first? Yeah. Or the Pacers sending you like Buddy Hield and Miles Turner? That would be very funny.
No, at this point I think they would never do that. I think they would just rather have Miles Turner.
Yeah,
he makes a lot less. Every report that's come out has said that the Pacers are just targeting forwards. They have their guard set with Mathurin, Nembhard, and Halliburton, and then they have Miles Turner at center, and then they drafted Isaiah Jackson to be his backup. So, like, I think they're just going to be using all of their cap space, all of their picks, all of their trades to get a starting power forward and a starting small forward.
And that's what I've been hearing. Like some of the draft shows are talking about, like, because they have so many picks, are they a team to like trade up for Brandon Miller or Scoot?
Sure.
And not Scoot. They would probably be
Brandon Miller. If Miller fell a little bit, I think they could talk themselves into trading like a few firsts.
Yeah, and I just like, I don't know, like, wouldn't you rather have a Thompson and then take some more swings than like doing that, Yeah,
like, I'm a little bit higher on Brandon Miller than you are. I think Brandon Miller, for what the Pacers are trying to build, a really fast pace, a pace and space team. Mm-hmm. I think Brandon Miller would fit really well on there. I think the reason why I'm a little bit lower on Miller than like the people that are super high on him is because people think he's going to be like a Paul George level ball handler, and I just don't see that. I think that he's going to be more of like a complementary shooter who can work off the ball, on the ball occasionally, and I think that would fit really nicely with a high-level playmaker and a volume scorer like the Pacers already have, and they have a space it out big, like. They're trying to build a modern team, and Brandon Miller fits a lot of modern NBA things, I would say. I think that Miller's probably going so high because he already has one surefire transferable skill that is, and he's a huge wing. So like a team like Indiana, like I would definitely be interested in him, but I think the Miller thing is more about fit than anything else. From what I understand, the Pacers want to win right now, and Miller's probably better for that than a Thompson twin would be. But if you want to go long term with your core, the Thompson swings are certainly a very, very interesting upside swing, guys.
Yeah, I'm a Asar pill, but we already know this. Asar,
I think Asar probably has a better chance of probably a lower ceiling than Amen, but probably a less of a chance of being a bust.
I just like. I like that he kind of played off ball more. And I think that's
the shot is less of a question with him too, which is like he probably will be at least an average shooter.
It's very funny to me that like the consensus was that Amen was like better for like everyone, and I just look at it and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're looking for, right? Like these high, if you want more of an upside swing, you would take Amen, but I don't know. I upside swings. I don't know. Like they had an interest at what I forget. I apologize. I forget which pod it was I was listening to, unless it was the Ringer Draft Show, in which case I'm fine with stealing this. What that somebody pointed out, like the guys who are projects, like when is the last time a guy who was like a raw project like became an NBA player for the team that drafted him?
It's rare. I will say it's definitely rare, but also it's like, what is your definition of a raw project? Because like,
Amen Thompson's not like raw, like or anything like that.
But also like, I mean, like there have been guys who fit the mold of, maybe it's been a while, but the hits are some of the greatest players of all time. Like Kawhi and Giannis fit that mold perfectly.
Well, and we talk about how Kawhi is like one of the most.
I understand. I'm not saying that they're not outliers, but this is why people take the swings. Is what I'm saying. Is like Russell Westbrook, Kawhi, Giannis, these kind of guys that are seen. And Russ was obviously a pretty productive college player, but like he was seen as like that high upside guy, and he hit his high upside. Like it's more of a risk than it pays off more often. But it does happen, and like when it does happen, they can hit really, really big.
I'm not even really talking so much about like even necessarily like the tippy top of the draft, though. I'm talking about like guys like Bobby Clintman, like getting like lottery buzz, like, and it's like, what?
Sure.
Guy scored 5 points per game in college.
Yeah, like, I don't. That makes no sense to me. You gotta ask KOC about that one.
Yeah, that's insane. But I don't know. Anyway, we got off topic. I guess was what I would say. We were talking about Chris Paul. I think that Chris Paul is going to be. I think there's. I kind of think the Haynes report came from the Suns, who were kind of like getting it out there, like didn't want to piss their fans off. I kind of agree with the Bill Simmons read on things, which was like, hey, here's what we could do. Like, are you guys gonna kill us if we like just straight up waive this guy? Like, and like let him go. And I don't know. Like, I would just kind of. I agree with what you said. I would just kind of fucking keep him for this season if you don't have a plan. Like,
so I do think that if they are able to if they have knowledge that he wants to come back and would be willing to take a veteran's minimum, that changes everything for me, because then you're paying him much less money and you can get access to an exception to bring in another player, and depth is really their issue, right? But if they're going to let him walk and try to replace him with a bunch of like, they're going to piecemeal it essentially, that's where I'm a little bit more skeptical of like, we have to see what the DeAndre Ayton trade is first. Because if DeAndre Ayton can bring you back multiple rotation players, and then you could split up the MLE into like 2 rotation players, let's say, then I understand it. Because then it's like, all right, you're really building around Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And if you think you can get 2 rotation players back for Paul by doing this, and 2 rotation players back for Ayton, then it makes sense to kind of, build out that 3 through 7 with that kind of stuff, and then maybe hope that you hit on like, whether it's you get a late draft pick or you hit on a veterans minimum guy like they've had some success with in these past few years. I don't really hate that idea, but like I need to see this really fleshed out, and like I think it could be a mistake just thinking that Chris Paul is fully washed and you're going to have to pay him half his salary anyway is where it's like, it could get a little bit tricky, I guess.
Well, I also just think he has value. I mean, Bill stole my idea, but he said the same thing I did. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Spurs to just take him. Like,
sure,
he's fully non-guaranteed next year. Like, who fucking cares?
This would be the last year you have to pay him at $30 million. You have cap space. Pop and him get along because they did Team USA.
Yep.
They need a more traditional point guard, I guess. And you would have Wemby, all their wings, Jones as the backup point guard, like it immediately makes them a pretty good team. Like I would say, like I would consider taking it for free. And then if this is where it gets interesting, and I want to end the free portion here to talk more about this on the Patreon part, but there's the James Harden element that has been thrown out there by Ramona Shelburne and some other people that I want to talk about. And that's where it would get interesting for me. So if you want to hear us talk about that, Harden potentially to the Suns in some sort of sign and trade or anything along those lines, we're also going to talk some more draft slop that's happening because the draft is 2 weeks away. We're going to touch on the NBA finals and talk a little bit about that, that little thing that's happening right now. And then we're going to go over our guy, Ball Don't Stop's top 75 hoopers of all time. So if you want this entire episode, subscribe to the Ball Patreon. The link is in the description. Okay.